Schon design Monoc Nib. I guess we can talk about the pen too. Now, I personally don't have a lot of background in pens or ink or anything like that. What I can say is that when I come across videos like this, when I come across subjects like this, it's always fascinating to me because it's an entire world that I hadn't considered. For background, the Inked Well is, yes, somebody that I did ask to react to their content with, and as well, they helped me get my audio to the place that it currently is at. I feel as far as being transparent, I wanted to mention that. They did an excellent job with making and helping me get my audio to the point it is. And this isn't a, well, you got my back, I got your back kind of thing. This is honestly, I wanted to take a look at this from an unbiased standpoint. I felt I should, just for transparency's sake, reveal that information prior and look at a world that really I've come across in the past, but never really engaged in. You know, I had a video a while back pop up about Japanese ASMR pen shop, and the person was going on about how different pens are good for different things. You have pens that are better for signing, you're using signatures, pens that are better for writing letters, pens that are better for, you know, office documents. And it was just so fascinating, and it's never really a world that I've considered. So I wanted to take a look at this and really take a look at a world that I personally haven't looked at before.
I can't tell which one I'm more interested in here, the pen or the interesting nib inside.
That's a bomb intro, though, actually. That is a bomb intro.
This video is sort of a long time coming. Thanks to former BYOB and philosophical co-host Phil Olin, this pen, or at least the nib, has been on my radar since the introduction in winter of 2023. I've also liked the look of the pens coming from Schon Design, but have never had my budget and purchasing decisions line up at the same time to pick one up.
So I love that I've already butchered this video because I said scone instead of shown. I definitely apologize for that one. And it looks good. It looks fluid. It's very sleek. It's got an identifier here. Like, also the keyboard. The keyboard's also super legit. I actually really love this keyboard. The keys on here.
So thank you, Phil, for letting me borrow this pen. And thank you, USPS, for losing the pen and 2 others for 3 weeks while doing absolutely nothing to try and help. You guys—
Ayo! Mail system gang, rise up! God. I know the mail system's doing the best that they can. It's sometimes packages go lost. The amount of times I've had to contact TCG Player because I never got cards that I ordered. Like, I feel this on a deep level. I'm just like, I want my 3rd Alibur Jester of Despia Ultimate Rare, and it never arrives. And I'm just like, well, can you not issue me a refund? I want the product I ordered. Well, we can't track it down. You know, it got sent out. We're more than willing to give you a refund. Sometimes shipping just makes me have a headache.
You guys are absolutely worthless sometimes. Moving on, what we'll be looking at today is the Monoc titanium nib in a black anodized aluminum body. First up is the unboxing experience, though I guess I should probably call it more of an untubing experience. Now, unlike—
Wait, I thought that was the pen. That's just the tubing outside of the packaging. Okay, that's interesting. I'm very curious what this looks like now.
An Apple product, where both parts of the packaging slowly come apart on their own with gravity, these 2 tubes have just small enough of a tolerance to require some human intervention without causing damage to the cardboard sleeve of each half. If you've been watching this channel for any amount of time, you know how much of a fan I am when companies use minimal packaging. And this is what I love to see. This is simply—
I would argue that too. I absolutely love— not only is it like eco-friendly and stuff like that, but I argue it's confidence in a product. So I use Sweetwater specifically, Sweetwater for my audio, which absolutely lovely rep there. I'm not partnered with them. I'm not paid to say this. I'm just saying that I went through Sweetwater. Absolutely awesome company from my experience. And, you know, the mic components that I got, if I can English today, were packaged very well. And there was a lot of care that went into it. And I liked that. Yes, while it did come in a cardboard box, you know, I was able to unbox my Focusrite system here, right? And which is some of the outboard gear that I use. And it's like, damn, I didn't have to go through like 5 boxes and 2 layers of plastic wrap to get to this. So I'm very much a fan of minimal packaging. If anything, I'd argue it shows confidence in a product. I'm very much a fan of that.
Stated, with the inclusion of a cool little pen dude here, and can easily be recycled. It goes to show that you can make good protective packaging without having to have a larger than needed impact on the environment.
Yeah.
I also prefer this over the sleeving on Kavekos and Lamis, as the overlapping tube design is going to be more structurally sound than a container with corners.
Right.
There is one drawback though. Due to the design of the cardboard sleeves, if you put the orange piece into the black piece without a pen in there, you may not be able to get it back out easily. So
okay, so that's just a consideration where if you want to keep this as a protective cover and you put this back in, and this is on top, right? It can not come apart, which, I mean, it's not necessarily a design oversight. It served its purpose at that point. It's just something to be knowledgeable about, right? To just be like, hey, this is an interaction that can happen.
Keep that in mind. And that brings us in a roundabout way to the pen itself. Out of the tube, this anodized black aluminum body really shows off the engineering that went into the design. Look at the tight seam between the cap and the body. On most other pens, you can see a little bit of a gap at this point or feel a little bit of play.
I think that's things that we really see. Why I like doing videos like this, right, is because these are things that we don't... Oh, it did happen while filming. We have Inkwell in chat. Hi, welcome. No, this is blowing my mind. I love subjects like this because these are things that I don't really think about, right? So let's put it this way. I've worked with office clicky pens. I've worked with, your standard Bic ballpoint pens. I've worked with arguably the McDonald's of pens, right? And so I haven't really had to have a pen that I can look at and be like, okay, what is the design of it? Why is the design of a pen? What is this pen used for, right? And, what ink does it use? Is it refillable? Is this going to be a one and done kind of thing? Is this disposable? Is this meant to be used for a number of months, weeks, years, right? And I feel like I'm playing it up, but I'm really not. Because it's a similar thing to me in discovering $700 pen. Oh my God, that's kind of hot though. It does look sleek. The aluminum is really good on this. Like, you can look at that and it feels sleek. It looks chic. It looks effective. It does everything that it needs to very well. It's like me finding audio, right? So for example, on my old videos, I wasn't what Inkwell had recommended. I didn't normalize the audio to a specific is it frequency? I'm trying to remember. You have to normalize it to specification, and furthermore, I use a bus and I make sure that I have to limit my audio. I increase the attack time on it. I boost it when I need to. I de-ess it to a specific settings, and that's every single video. And so, you think about, oh, this YouTube video sounds good, and look how well his video sounds. He's got way more experience than I do with audio. I mean, you can hear how good it is. You can hear how just excellent it sounds. And for any content, especially YouTube, your audio is going to be king. Naturally, as you can see, the video also complements it very well. It's very high quality, very high production quality. These are marks of a good channel. I mean, you can have channels that, are filming in 360p realistically, and you can have a following with that. I would argue that hitting these quality standards not only shows pride in your work and pride in what you're doing, but it also shows a mastery over certain aspects of it. And so far, I mean, like, for a $700 pen, especially so, right? If I was to pop open my Android right now, if I was to pop open even an iPhone, right? You think I could get this level of quality? Or do you think that it would best look on a, $3,000 plus camera that is going to be able to get certain shots and certain details better? It's really a world that I haven't really delved in or had to think about. And it's so cool to see things like this. And everyone, has their niche. Everyone has their thing. Everyone can bring something to the table. I can be a dingus for 4 hours on stream and upload it in segments as React content. Or, you can have somebody with, mastery and knowledgeability in this field explaining, look, this is why this pen is going to be $700. This is what you're paying for. This is, the packaging you're going to receive. They show confidence because of its minimalistic design. It's, you can run into the issue with the two cardboard tubes, meshing together, but I mean, it's not necessarily a fault as we explored. It's super fascinating to see things that you don't consider about.
That isn't the case here. This cap is flush fitting and snug without being stuck. I'm also liking the black on black etched branding here right above the join. Uncapping the pen, you can see how we get that nice flush fit. Just past the threading is a small red O-ring that engages just before the cap hits the final turn. Ignoring the nib for now, we have a nice feeling section with no overdone texturing or knurling.
It's very, very clean. Body is $300 and the nib is $400. Woof! But I mean, you look at the design, right? And so Inkwell, what is this used for specifically, right? Is this something that you would use as, everyday use? Is this something that you would save specifically for doing certain projects? Is this something that you use for, calligraphy use or signature use? What is the intended design to it? Or is it an all-arounder? You look at that is a very sleek design. It is, the word comes to mind, minimalistic. It, has that built-in safety with that O-ring, right? That engages, you don't want to necessarily screw it into the end, although I don't think you'd be able to with that. Very minimalistic, very sleek, very chic, and it looks functional. Daily writing, journaling, general chat use. Okay, so it is an all-rounder, so it's not like you're going to have to necessarily baby this thing then, right? It's, you use this pen when you need to. You're not going to be concerned about a whole heck of a lot. Obviously, you don't want to necessarily be rough with something, especially if you're spending that much for a pen, but at the end of the day, you are paying for quality. And a lesser example, right? I got barbecue the day that I'm streaming / recording this, right? I paid $40 for barbecue. I wanted barbecue. I'm willing to pay for quality if the quality is going to be there. And I think that does need to be normalized. Absolutely. Sometimes you just want to get chicken nuggets for like $5. I totally get it. Sometimes you just don't want the $40 barbecue. However, in certain cases, if you do want that quality, you are going to want to spend that. And even then, say you go to a convention on pens, say that you are talking with fellow pen enthusiasts, they're going to look at that and go, I know exactly what that model is. I know exactly what that is. You legend, right? And it's people that are in the same sphere. It's why I can show up to a Naruto CCG event, not that they happen anymore, right? I can show up with my English and German Sage Mode copies, the good one that makes sure you don't run out of chakra, let's put it that way, and people are going to know exactly what that is. Or someone shows up and they have a Sasuke Susanoo, and I'm like, that came from Avengers Wrath. Oh my god, that is an expensive Susanoo, right? Outside of the Naruto CCG or Naruto, you're not going to know what the hell I'm talking about. Likewise with pens, you might not necessarily know what you're talking about, but there are certain things, certain benefits that they have over each other, and they could even be status symbols. They could be that you have a brand that is very specifically a just overall good design, and you could have your workhorse pen. Absolutely.
And the threads here on the section are almost completely unnoticeable when writing,
which is great.
That brings us to the last component. This pen is equipped with a standard converter, which will come in handy for supplying enough ink to keep this nib going. And that
didn't even think there would be a converter in there, going to be completely honest. That does make sense, though. As far as I'm aware, being able to supply enough ink to keep it going, right? Totally cool, actually. I didn't even think that was going to be a portion of it. You learn new things every day.
Brings us to the star of the show. This is the Monoc Nib that was introduced in December of 2022. We've seen tubular nibs before, but what makes this one special is a few things. First and foremost, this nib was made in-house in Philadelphia by Schon Designs themselves. To use their own words, this makes them among a very small number of companies globally who have achieved this feat in-house. And achieve it they did. This nib incorporates a precision machined Ultim feed. This feed is then fitted in a heavy-duty solid stock grade 5 titanium nib with an added O-ring that keeps it sitting snugly in the section.
I like that it's reminiscent of the end of a quill. I absolutely do love that, and that's super aesthetic to me as somebody that's used to, ballpoint pens, as somebody that's used to clicky pens. This is super cool, actually.
Additionally, the tip of this nib is fully integrated, allowing for the manufacturing of a graphite-like writing experience and providing a nice canvas should you want to have a nibsmith take a shot or two at it.
Really?
Now, let's take a look at the overall size and move into the writing samples. I recently got rid of the Sailor 1911 Stormy Seas due to not reaching for it as much as I used to. So the new comparison pen is my Pelikan M805 Stressman.
That looks chic. That looks incredibly professional in the design. Like, you look at that, right? And like, at a fancy business dinner, right, as somebody's like, well, here's my contact information, if you ever need anything from our company, feel free to give us a call. That is something you'd expect to someone, to pull out of their shirt pocket. That is beautiful. That is gorgeous.
Capped, the Pelikan is coming in about 14 millimeters longer at 141 millimeters.
$800 at that release.
Weight-wise, though, these two pens come in pretty even at 29 grams when...
So the same weight, if you're wanting once again, the word is minimalistic. You want a more compact and still professional design, you could go with this because they are a similar weight. Whereas this, I feel you're trying to be outwardly flashy. Not that it's a bad thing, right? I feel like you're trying to impress. I could see this at a high-class business dinner.
Capped. Moving to the uncapped numbers, The Pelican is now only 6 millimeters longer at 127 millimeters.
Interesting.
And is now 2 grams lighter than the Schon design that is now coming in at 23 grams. Section-wise, the Schon design gives you almost 2 full centimeters to the 1.5 centimeters on the Pelican, with both sections coming in at 10.8 millimeters for the Peli and 10.2 millimeters for the Schon.
Honestly, and that's, as somebody that doesn't really know, I feel like having a longer area here for your fingers, I feel that that's going to appeal to a lot more people. There's people like me with gigantic hands. There's people that have smaller hands, and really I feel that this could accommodate a wider audience.
Now, numbers are great, but what about the writing experience? That's what's going to make it hard to send this pen back to Phil. This writing sample is being done in my Masubi .grid notebook with Tomoe River paper, and I want to point out up front that I have used this nib on Rhodia, Midori Cotton, and TR, and my thoughts hold true on each paper type. When
my dumbass sitting here like, wait, is that different than printer paper? Once again, there's different papers for different things. So you have paper like this that could be used for writing samples and be exceptional at that. I don't know specifically. You know, there's other considerations to be in there. I mean, you could have specific parchment, specific paper mixes even. Right? It's so fascinating to find worlds that I had no idea what they're about. You know, whether I'm going to invest in it or not is, you know, beside the point, right? You know, it's the matter of things that I personally don't even think about, things that a lot of us take for granted or don't even know about, just having this depth and complexity, and that this is someone's whole thing. It's so cool. Getting most out of the ink. Okay, so that makes sense. So this paper is good for getting the most out of the ink, so hence why using for writing sampling. And along with the litany of others, once again, citing that, hey, look, this is, I've tried it on these different variations. You know, it just adds to the credibility. You don't necessarily need to show using it other papers. This is the one that really, at a base level, you know, people like me that aren't in the sphere are going to look at, I would argue.
When talking about the feel of the nib, I think Ian got the description of graphite feel correct. I feel like I'm writing with a very forgiving pencil that happens to have the color of Pilot de Roshizuku Shoro.
Interesting.
And while I normally don't like writing with pencils, this is an exception due to the well-designed body and section of this pen. The grip is extremely comfortable, and I don't feel my hand cramping up on long writing sessions. Additionally, the feedback of the titanium nib on paper is much less noticeable than I thought it would be, especially after a few of the writing experiences that I've had with other titanium nibs. The quality and craftsmanship that went into this nib are immediately on display, and it's hard to put the full experience into words. I mean, probably the best way I can explain it is this. If you are able to try one at a pen show, get ready to go home with a new nib. And if you are pen-abled into trying one at a pen club meetup, be prepared to put in an order at the Schon Design website. I really think this nib is just that good.
I mean, it looks good. So for me, as somebody that's used stupid ballpoint pens, how I'm used to, you know, a singular line from that ballpoint, I look at this and I'm like, you know, is it necessarily bleeding? I don't know. I don't have enough material in regards to expensive pens. You know, plus you have to consider that the paper being used here is getting the most out of the ink. So therefore, it could be also a straighter line. It could be a more compact line, but the specific paper is going to pull more out of it. You know, looking at this, I mean, it's legible. I mean, it does what it needs to do. Absolutely. It really just depends what you're using it for, as with anything, right? You use a hammer for hammer things, you use a screwdriver for screwdriver things, realistically. Grid is 5 millimeters. And okay, so this is also incredibly small as well. So, I mean, zooming in is not necessarily indicative of how it looks further away.
And this pen design is an amazing complementary experience.
Yeah.
And that does it for our look at the Schon anodized aluminum pen in black with the Monoc titanium nib. If you liked that video or found it useful, then hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.
No, this is actually super great. I love this. Part of the best thing about being a content creator, being a racked content creator even, is coming across things and people being passionate about it and learning new things each and every time that I can do that. And I do want to thank Inkwell for making an absolutely amazing video. I mean, if you go back, look at the quality.
With an added O-ring.
Look at the quality. Look at the camera quality. And we've already discussed
went into
the audio.
Design. Look at the tight...
The audio is great. It doesn't sound compressed. It doesn't sound, you know, warbly. There's no peaks being hit. There's no warping. Like, for example, on, you know, people have heard me laugh how it warps the mic. There's none of that. Mastery is being shown over the production of this. Knowledge of the product to an outsider like me, outside of the pen sphere, is coming through just fine. It's a very good presentation, and it showcases what it needs to in a very compact... I'm not sitting here waiting an hour and a half explaining, well, this is how this is manufactured, this is why this is... It does everything that it needs to in a time-sensitive manner, and it feels like it respects your time, not only with the length, but because of the presentation. It's absolutely amazing, and I actually really like this. I honestly recommend, if pens are your thing, because I do go into different circles, right? Or if this interested you, definitely go give this original a watch. Go watch what Inkwell also puts out. He puts out great content. I'm not saying that because Inkwell did help me with my audio. To clarify, I'm not. You know, he's helped me with audio, and I'm incredibly grateful to him. He has mastery over audio that I only wish I could have. And he puts it to good use with his presentations, as well as something he's knowledgeable and passionate about. So I definitely recommend you go check him out. This was awesome. Inkwell, thank you for tuning in. You know, hoping everything's going well with you today. Hoping everything is going smooth, if you will. And this was amazing on audio on this channel. Remember to plug the fancy mic in. Oh, absolutely. I totally feel that. But this was a great presentation. And, you know, there's a lot of pen content that I've come across, you know, Japanese content alone. The Japanese pen ASMR, as I told you, right? And I think that a lot of people could find this content useful. A lot of people will find this content useful, or maybe they're in a sphere that they didn't know about and want to be in, right? How many people are into watches, right? How many people are into doing, you know, Lambos? How many people are into words brain? Watches, Lambos, etc., right? Shoes, even. You know, this was excellent. I loved this, and I can't recommend it enough if you found this content interesting. So, last, what are your thoughts? Do you think that any other pens are interesting? Do you think that this is something you'd be, you know, looking into? Was this something that you didn't really know about, but now you have an interest in it? Let me know in the comments. As always, please be civil, and I will see you in the next one.